When people talk about the worst seasons in the history of the New York Jets franchise, this season right here has to be up there with one of the worst, as the 1975 campaign was ugly with a capital U. Life in the post-Weeb Eubank era was rough, and the 1975 season was no exception, as the Jets finished that year with an abysmal 3-11 record, setting the franchise record at the time for the worst season in team history by winning percentage. It was so bad that head coach Charlie Winter was relieved of his duties in the middle of the season, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. For the record, interim head coach Ken Shipp was no better for the remainder of the season. He was just as bad, if not worse. And you can learn more about how bad his stint was after taking over by clicking the card in the upper right corner. It was so bad that at one point, the Jets embarked on an 8-game losing streak. It was so bad that the Jets finished the year allowing 31 points per game, finishing dead last in the NFL in defense from both a points allowed standpoint and a yards allowed standpoint. And it was so bad that Joe Namath, the franchise icon and Hall of Famer, who was clearly on his last legs by this point, threw an NFL worst 28 interceptions, which was so bad that no quarterback was even close to him in that category, as he truly was an awful, not mobile whatsoever, turnover machine. Just about everything for the Jets went wrong in 1975, as the season was, in no uncertain terms, an unmitigated disaster. And if you want to know how bad the 1975 season was from a player's standpoint and a coaching standpoint, with both awful avenues combining into one catastrophic mess, here's a story for you that you might not know about that just about sums up the initial years post-Weeb Eubank and how bad they were. Because during one of these games in 1975, the coaching staff decided to have the players do something that they thought was going to help them out. Instead, it backfired in spectacular fashion, and not only failed to help them out one bit, but had the exact opposite effect and led them to set the franchise record for futility. Because this is the story behind what I like to call the shoe polish game, otherwise known as one of the dumbest moments in the history of the New York Jets franchise. Make sure you hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel, because we post every single day on here about the weird and the wacky history of the NFL with stories like this one that you might not have heard of before. So if you like that sort of stuff, then this is definitely the place for you. Thanks in advance for liking and subscribing and for helping us grow this community. And with that in mind, let's talk about the shoe polish game, where the Jets looked anything but polished. Before I talk about the actual incident in question and just how bad it was for the Jets, we need some context to understand the importance of this game right here that they were about to play. It's October 19th, 1975. It's Week 5 of the NFL season, and we've got a critical AFC East battle on our hands at Shea Stadium between the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. 4 games into the season, and the Jets were still in this thing, as they were 2-2 thanks to the 4th best offense in the AFC and the 7th best offense in the NFL. Even despite their atrocious defense, the Jets had a realistic chance in the postseason 4 weeks in. In 1975, 4 teams made it in each conference, and the Jets were just 1 game back of the Miami Dolphins for the best record amongst the wildcard teams. If you win this game against a very good Miami team, as in a team that had the #1 defense in the division and had played in 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls, you position yourself very nicely down the stretch. Speaking of that stretch, the next 5 games for the Jets, with 2 against Miami, 2 against Baltimore, and 1 against Buffalo, were against AFC East opponents. So if you come out of this stretch strong, you're the favorite to win the AFC East for the first time since the merger. Lose this game and start the stretch on the wrong foot, and good luck bouncing back, because it is not going to be easy. But prior to this game right here against the Dolphins, it was very clear that the weather was going to be really bad. The weather was really bad all weekend on Long Island, with torrential downpours. It was so bad that the day before, on Saturday, October 18th, there was a high school football game that was the subject of a giant controversy because it was not played, partly because of the inclement weather. It wasn't a question of whether or not it was going to rain during this game. It was a question of how much it was going to rain. One weather report from the island said that the weather was going to be so bad that the roads will get flooded. And seeing as the Jets played at Shea Stadium, which you know, if you've ever been to LaGuardia Airport, is right on the water, is not good. There are some games where you don't know whether or not it's going to rain, and the weather report is iffy, and it could go one way or the other. This was not one of them. This was always going to be a super wet day. And when you combine that with the fact that the game was at Shea Stadium, a field that was already muddy as it was because it had the infield dirt on it and was used that season by not just the Jets, but by the New York Giants, the New York Yankees, and the New York Mets, holding onto the ball was going to be an issue in the elements. That's when one of the coaches on the Jets had an idea to get ready for this game right here. Backfield coach Jim Spavital was in his first season on the coaching staff of the Jets after spending the previous season in the World Football League with the Chicago Fire. And he heard through the grapevine a trick and a secret to making the ball grip better. That secret? Shoe polish. How it works is like this. You lather your hands in loads and loads of shoe polish, and the ball will stick to you as a result, giving you better grip. This was before substances like stickum were banned, so no, there was no chance that anything like this could happen today. However, I have to point out a few things with Spavital and his idea. Number one, at no point did Spavital ever do that himself. He had been a coach for 2 decades at this point across various levels, and was a head coach at one point. And not once did I ever find anything about Spavital doing this with shoe polish. This game against the Jets was quite literally the very first time he had tried that out. From all accounts, he just heard about the idea from somewhere and was like, wait a second, that's genius, without ever testing it out. Almost like your parent who reads something on Facebook and believes it to be 100% true without ever applying any critical thinking. And considering the fact that Spavital had definitely been the coach for games in the rain before, as I highly doubt that in 20 years of coaching, dating back to 1955 and as an assistant with Oklahoma State, that every single game was played in sunny conditions, that says a lot about this idea of his just coming to light for the first time in 1975. Number two, I don't think I need to tell you this, but applying shoe polish to your hands is downright dangerous. Do not try this at home. There's a reason that they tell you that if you accidentally get shoe polish on your hands, and the key word there being accidentally, that you should wash it off immediately. There's a reason they don't tell you to douse your hands in loads and loads of it. If you leave shoe polish on your skin, it irritates and damages the skin, and can lead to other serious diseases and infections. There are a lot of chemicals in shoe polish, and if you use shoe polish for something that it is not intended for, as in anything else that isn't polishing your shoes, it can be really bad for you. This would be like if I tell you that the best way to improve your grip would be before the event to hit your hands with a hammer 10 times. If you applied any critical thinking skills and common sense whatsoever, you would know that this is really bad for you. But somehow, somewhere, Jim Spavital thought, hey, this idea isn't so bad. And number three, why would you be trying this for the first time during a game? Why would you be adjusting your grip for the very first time during live action in a game? It's like in baseball. If you get a new pair of gloves and your hands are very different because of it, because you've never worn them before, the first time you wear those gloves isn't going to be during an actual game when facing 100-mile-per-hour fastballs. You're going to take some swings on the cages to get used to the feel. In golf, if you never wore gloves before, and now you get gloves, and your hands feel very different, you're going to go out on the driving range and practice some swings, and you're going to practice hitting some balls with the gloves on. You're not going out on the first hole having never played with gloves before. So in a weird way, it's actually kind of crazy what backfield coach Jim Spavital was thinking with this idea. Either don't do it, or if you're going to do it, practice with it first. But don't make this game right here against the Dolphins the very first time you're making your players wear shoe polish on their hands, because they have no idea what it's like to play with shoe polish on their hands. But just because someone has an idea doesn't mean that everyone has to go along with it. Jim Spavital was the backfield coach, for crying out loud. He can easily be rejected in the chain of command. However, the Jets thought that Spavital's idea, despite the side effects of shoe polish on the hands, and despite the fact that Spavital had never, not once, tried this himself and just heard about this idea through the grapevine, was brilliant. Why not give it a shot? Any edge to beat Miami, right? It's going to be bad weather, and if this is going to help us hold on to the football in the bad weather, so be it. With that, equipment manager Bill Hampton purchased cans of shoe polish. Clear the entire stock and clear every shelf of your finest shoe polish. We've got a football game to win. And prior to the game against the Dolphins, the players had shoe polish rubbed on their hands for the first time. Remember how the pickle juice game changed how players prepare for playing in the heat, which you learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner? This was the shoe polish game, and backfield coach Jim Spavital, equipment manager Bill Hampton, and the New York Jets were about to change the way players prepare for playing in the extreme rain. Football would never be the same again. And by that, I mean that this was a one-and-done strategy never tried again, because holy crap, this strategy absolutely stunk. The Jets lost the game 43-0 and looked anemic at every step of the game. This was a 7-score game because back in 1975, the 2-point conversion did not exist. Despite this game being a pick-em, and despite people giving the Jets an honest-to-God chance at pulling this one off, it never had a chance of happening, especially after the Dolphins led it 26-0 at the halftime break. The Dolphins had double the first downs that the Jets had, winning that battle 22-12. The Dolphins had more than double the rushing yardage that the Jets had, winning that battle 261-116, and with Miami averaging well over 5 yards per carry. The Dolphins had more than double the total yardage that the Jets had, winning that battle 437-176. And Dolphins quarterback Bob Greasy was sensational on this day despite the bad weather, going 10 for 14, completing 71% of his passes with 3 touchdowns, a passer rating of 117.6, and a rushing touchdown to go along with that. But let's be fair to the Jets here. The whole point of the shoe polish wasn't that they were going to win the game. You can't just rub shoe polish on your hands and magically learn how to play football. It's not a magic potion. The whole point was to help the Jets hold on to the football and to help them with their grip so that the ball wouldn't slip out of their hands. The Jets got pounded on this day, but did they at least keep the turnovers under control? Well, I'll be. Gotta say, that's not bad. Miami had 2 turnovers, but the Jets, their credit, had none. Not too shabby if I do say so myself. Maybe there was something to this strategy after all. Maybe I should have been too harsh and too critical before. Maybe, oh, wait a second guys, my bad. Apparently, the graphic got cut off, and there's a part of it that's missing. So let me just unveil that and reveal the full graphic. Jesus Christ, 8 turnovers? You turned it over 8 times? Yep, that's right. The New York Jets, dousing their hands in shoe polish in order to not turn the ball over, actually turned it over 8 times, setting, I kid you not, a franchise record for the most turnovers in a game at the time. Now that is irony, my friends. The Jets fumbled it 4 times, losing 2 of those fumbles, and Joe Namath went 8 for 24 with no touchdowns, and get ready for this, 6 interceptions, posting a passer rating of 6.9, which is worse if it did nothing but spike the ball into the ground on every single play. And when J.J. Jones entered the game at quarterback to relieve Namath of his duties, while Jones never turned the ball over, he also never completed a pass. going 0 for 9 and posting a passer rating of exactly 39.6. Jones, for all intents and purposes, spiked the ball into the ground on every single play. It actually happened, folks. It actually happened. So the Jets put shoe polish on their hands, thinking it would help them with their grip, despite the dangers of it, despite never doing it before, and despite science actually proving otherwise now. And it backfired miserably, to the point where they never tried this again, nor did any team to my knowledge at the pro level, and to the point where it ended up derailing their entire season, as the Jets began a massive tailspin after this game. Why the Jets went along with the delusions of their backfield coach in the first place, I have no idea. But there's a reason that he only lasted one season in New York. I'll put it that way. So what did we learn from all of this? Do not put shoe polish on your hands. It is a very bad idea. It is bad for your body. It is bad for gripping things. It is a hindrance. There are no positives to putting shoe polish on your hands. If you want to hold on to the ball in the rain, there are other ways to do it, like gloves, or by keeping two hands on the ball at all times, or by using a towel in between every play. Ways that do not hurt your body and are actually proven to work. If you try a strategy without ever practicing it, and it leads to the team setting the franchise record for futility, and your anti-turnover strategy results in more turnovers than any other game in franchise history, you're going to be ridiculed for it, and rightfully so, especially when this strategy is downright dangerous. Because the shoe polish game was definitely not one of the Jets' finest moments. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this idea backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Check out our live streaming schedule for the next few days. We're live every single day on this channel, whether we're covering a sporting event or playing GeoGuessr or just taking your requests. So make sure you like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single time that we go live and so that you can join this community. Also, thanks to all our members and our Patreon supporters who get exclusive perks like their name at the end of each video, members-only Q&A streams, and cool emojis to use on videos and during streams. See how you can join this community and become a member or a Patreon member by clicking the link in the description below.